wrist size, nail polish, and what it means to be a man. Do you remember the silicone bracelet craze? The mid to late aughts were styled with yellow Livestrong bands, pseudoscience power balance bracelets, and every emo kid's favorite way to show their support for breast cancer research. I was a fan of the trend, but a common problem I faced was that most of the bands I owned were made to fit adult men, and I had wrists that mimicked a garden hose. The bracelets would either have to slide up my arm toward my elbow to stay snug or dangerously dangle around my twig wrists. Knowing the bracelets were too big on me, I'd think, I can't wait until I'm older when these bands will finally fit. Imagine my disappointment when, after becoming an adult man, my wrists didn't magically expand. When I turned 18, I did not go through a Pokemon evolution-like experience, turning me from Tom Chander into Tomzard. Little wrists weren't my only unmanly physical feature. My beard was patchy and my chest was blank. Think pre-serum Steve Rogers. Or even a pre-serum version of pre-serum Steve Rogers. My grown-up appearance did not match my childhood expectations. I, somehow, never morphed into my 6'5" all-star fantasy frame. As you can tell, science was never my strongest subject. A couple of Punnett square exercises early on would have prepared me for the inevitable. Here I was, a man by age, but not much of a man by looks. Despite my underwhelming physical traits, I understood that being a man wasn't just about how you look, it's also about how you act. And men, I'd gathered, don't show fear, don't admit weakness, don't cry, and don't talk about their feelings. Men are handsome, not beautiful. Men are suave, not adorable. Men are hard, not soft. Men wear certain things, like suits and neckties. Men don't wear certain things, like nail polish or dresses. Men like certain things, like sports, sex, cars, guns, and hunting. Men don't like certain things, like crafting, cooking, cleaning, and baking. Men lead. Men preside. Men govern. Men correct. Men fight. Men decide. Men determine. Men dominate. Sigh. This limited understanding I held of what a man should be had been warped by my culture, media consumption, and religion. These outside voices, whose sources range from, that's just the way it is, and because God said so, provided an expectation that, in many ways, felt foreign to me. I'm not a naturally loud guy. As we've already covered, I'm not huge. I don't ooze machismo. No one is confusing me for John Wayne. But it was the expectation, or, at the very least, what I perceived as the expectation. So I fell in line and adjusted my behavior, but at a grave cost. I learned quickly that if I wanted to be more like this type of man, I had to be less like myself. I proved Bell Hooks' observation correct that no male successfully measures up to the patriarchal standards without engaging in an ongoing practice of self-betrayal. And I self-betrayed well into my early 20s. I subscribed to the reductive, sexist beliefs described above because I trusted their sources and I lacked the self-confidence to do anything out of the ordinary, in fear of being made fun of or rejected by other men. I don't recall a singular event that made me start to question how I viewed what it meant to be a man, but I do know that once I became more secure with who I was, I felt more comfortable expressing my manhood in my way. But it isn't always easy. It took me a while to admit out loud in front of others, especially other men, that I like doing things like painting my nails, reading Jane Austen, and watching Gilmore Girls. Team Jess all the way, although all of Rory's boyfriends suck in their own way. The reflex to mold myself into a certain type of masculinity was and is strong, but the reward of living true to oneself is much greater than the bland gift offered to those who act according to the standards of another. I've come to the conclusion that what it means to be a man isn't determined by God or the loudest men, but by each individual man. What makes me manly is simply being me. I look like a man and act like a man because I look and act like me. No amount of judgment or jeering makes anyone less of a man, and no amount of outdated outlooks or ugly misogyny makes anyone more of a man. Simply being a man is what makes one a man. And that's wonderful. Beautiful, even.